So it's already 11. I don't know if we should. Welcome, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah, there's some people arriving. But I think we can start on time, no? And if there's somebody missing, they can always join the streaming or they can knock the door. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here, and especially thanks to our amazing women that have accepted our invitation. Before I get to introduce them, they are Sara Clavero, Petra Rudolph, and Silvia Rueda Pascual. Let me give you a brief overview of how this is going to work. So we have said thanks here to my amazing team. I want to thank Pascalis, Isabel, and Benjamin, because we have tried this to be a really participative session. And in order to do so, please be so kind to scan this QR code. You will find that we have set an application so that you can send all your questions, comments, or whatsoever anonymously. We will also like to gather a word cloud, so to say, and we're asking you, like, what is the main term that you would refer to when talking about gender and science. That being said, I want also to thank Emakumeak Zientzian, because I already told to my colleagues here that we are in the week of, well, we call it the week of Woman and Girl in Science. It's not a day enough for us. And so far, we are 34 entities in 2026 in the whole Basque country, gathering under this big umbrella that we call Woman in Science, that we call Emakumeak Zientzian. We are talking about more than 300 volunteers yearly that are working during these days, both men and women, but especially 85% around are women. And we are able to come up with a program with more than 60 activities yearly. And what is impressive from my point of view is that we have already reached 40,000 participants. So thanks to all of the people that are involved. And also I would like you to know that behind these numbers, one thing that is most important for us is that we are really a community. And in this umbrella of Emakumeak Zientzian, we feel secure, and we want everyone to feel secure and everyone to be invited. And well, what we really wanted not to talk about numbers all the times, because we all agreed that we have been somehow overdiagnosed, and we still need those diagnoses to be done yearly, and we know the numbers, we know them, they hardly change. But I wanted to point at this one, Gender Equality Index 2025 by the European Institute for Gender Equality. And they say that we still have 50 years out of reach. Just keep that in mind, and from that we will move on, and we won't be talking about many numbers. We will be talking about actions. And to do so, we have set 5 topics that we would like to cover, but we will go maybe jumping from one to the other. This is meant to be a conversation, and we really want to listen to you. So we're talking about the system of science itself, the invisible burden of women that we have, how to attract, and most importantly, how to retain that talent, what is workplace harassment and how does it affect specifically the community at scientific centers, and what about mental health and gender gap, if there is a relationship or not. And we will try to do it, maybe we're being too ambitious here, but I will try to get from you what is your point of view from the policy makers, like what should be done and what is being done, from the local or more small organizational level, and at the personal level, like what can we do? Because this is something that we've been gathering. What can we do as individuals? Who should we do as institutions? And what do we have to ask to policymakers in order things to change? And again, just in case. And now, yes, I'm going to introduce you to well, it's my pleasure, to be honest. When we first envisioned this roundtable, we thought, okay, let's go to the top and let's see if they come. And all of them, they say yes. So we have them here. We're so glad that you accepted our invitation. I'm first introducing Sara Clavero. Sara Clavero holds a PhD in political sciences and is a research fellow at Technological University of Dublin, where she serves as Deputy Director of the Research Centre in Equitable and Inclusive Culture. Am I right?
You are right.
Great. Her work primarily focuses on gender and intersectionality perspectives on politics, public policy, and scientific research, with a particular interest in the R&A system of the European research area. So thanks for being here, Sara. Well, I really want to discuss with you interesting subjects. She is also a trainer on equality and diversity and inclusion. Yep. So you are responsible for training people, and you have contributed with many works and with many thoughts to the community. So thanks for that, and thanks for being here, Sara.
My pleasure.
First one. Okay. Thanks for that too. Well, and now Petra Rudolph. Many of us know her. She has been here. She told me that she almost comes yearly, and we're so glad to have you here because many people have been influenced by you. And Petra, for me, it's a pleasure to say a short overview of what you mean for us.
Sure.
As well as, sure. Yeah, I will try. I've really tried it. So she's an emeritus professor of experimental solid-state physics at the University of Groningen, but she just told me that she is the director of 5 theses that are going to be in October, November, December, January. So she's still working. And many of us know you because of your research in molecular motors, which I personally love, the 2D materials, which are also done here in our center, and hybrid systems. I could talk about all the prizes and all your recognitions as a physicist, but I will really want to point that beyond your scientific leadership, you have been actively involved in activities aimed at combating gender inequality in science. For example, to mention one, the Rosalind Franklin Fellowship. We can all agree that that was a real success. And you also give currently you give courses on how unconscious bias affect ourselves. And if you don't know her, please just Google her and find these videos because it's amazing. That works also for Sara and, of course, for Silvia, which I'm going to introduce now. So thank you, Petra, for being here again.
My pleasure.
And last but not least, Silvia Rueda Pascual. I had the pleasure to meet you when we organized together with Emakunde, Emakunde is the Institute for Gender Equality at the Basque government, at the Basque country, and together with them we organized a specific congress called Science Equality, Science and Gender Equality, a paradigm shift, and we met there, and I was so impressed with your ideas. So Silvia Rueda Pascual, she holds a degree and a PhD in computer sciences engineering from the University of Valencia. She is currently professor in the Department of Computer Sciences at the University of Valencia, and where she has served as department head, becoming the first woman to hold that position. That's something important, at least for me. And until May 2025, she was the director of the Women and Science Unit at the Spanish Ministry of Science, Innovation and Universities. Yes. So for that also, thank you, because I believe that was a strong period. Her current research focuses on gender studies in sciences, digital gender gap, human-centered software development, and ethical, diverse, and inclusive artificial intelligence. So, wow. There we go. So again, this round table. So as I mentioned before, this roundtable is being streamed. Please feel free to ask any questions or any comments on the YouTube channel or using the QR code that we already showed. And we've decided, because we were able to decide, that we will discuss for an hour, then we will take 10, 15 minutes. We will gather the questions and we will come back for open discussion. Is that okay with everyone? We're in a democracy. Okay. So, as we say, we have some things to go. So I will just start with block 1, and we're talking here about, let's go deep in the subject, the system of science, what we're talking about when we talk about excellence, what we're talking about evaluation, how is it done, because, well, as far as some of us understand here in the Basque Country and in Emakumeak Zientzian, the underlying structures of the science, of how it is organized. I'm talking about leadership models, evaluation criteria, definitions of excellence, have changed very little. And yet, we expect women to come to the system, and we're trying to make it happen, sometimes without acknowledging that maybe something should happen. And I want to have your opinion, because I believe that at the European level, somehow, those criteria are also changing and switching. So, to be here, a bit more specific on the question, what do you think about this, if the system genuinely have to change or not? Or if it does just solely seek to attract women without changing? And if so, can we really expect to have gender equality, diversity, the one that we're seeking for? What's your experience? For example, Sarah, if you wanted to.
Yes, well, you have noted that. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be in this beautiful city, and I'm delighted to see an audience such mixed genders. It is not common for me to give a talk, so it's great. Yes, well, the system of excellence on how you measure excellence in science, I think it is changing. It is changing very slowly. And it needs to change. So your question, does it need to change? I think it does. I think that there are, when we talk about impacts in science, we need to go beyond, citations and number of papers. And there are a lot of roles, a lot of effort being put. For instance, you were talking about leaders, people coming to change the institution, to supervise, to mentor students, and that work is not being recognized when you evaluate excellence. So it is changing. You see, for instance, for the metrics, the actual metrics, or other criteria that was used before about prestige of the university that you got your PhD, that is changing in the sense that you can see it also, for instance, in the European Code for the Recruitment of Researchers, that it is quite old, and it is still in the process of being updated, but it is low. But of course, I agree with you that the system needs to change. Yes.
That's not easy, but still the system is sometimes works. Petra, what's your opinion?
I think that in general, of course, we always have to strive for excellence. But what we have to do is to consider different criteria as well. So not only the individual effort that is being done, but also the community effort and the way that you do team science, which is becoming more and more important to affront the challenges that we have in our society. You can't solve problems only as an individual, but you solve problems much more in a team effort. And that needs to be more recognized on one side. On the other side, we need to accommodate the way people live. And that is starting. So, for example, if you apply for a prestigious grant at the EU and you have had children, they realize that when you're breastfeeding, your brain is not working very well. So these years are not counted in your scientific career. But that needs to be a general thing. And with this, I mean not only on paper, but between our ears, that we count the academic curriculum of a person, and there certain years have to be taken out because you are not working on science during that time. So we have to readdress how we evaluate a CV with the academic age and taking into account family breaks, and that goes likewise. If the partner decides to take care of the children, these years have to be counted on the partner's CV, just the same way as they are counted on the mother's CV. So we really have to re-evaluate how we look at CVs. That's
That's-
important.
Yeah, that's important, and I think that at the European level it's being taken care of, but it has slightly affected the Spanish, and this is why I'm looking to Sylvia criteria to, well, when we ask for projects and the only thing that we see, we're talking about how many Q1 articles do
Yes.
you have, we're talking about how many theses were you able to direct. The word
Yes,
is yours.
I think we have a very competitive science system because we have a very competitive society. It's not different from other areas in our society. We have a scientific system designed for men, and we don't have a space for other requirements, necessities, or what we live as a woman in this society, and specifically in our scientific system, in academia. There is not room for other things in our lives. It's just publishing, just this kind of excellence criteria. And I think we need to redefine what does it mean excellence, because excellence is only having 20 publication, 10, 100. What makes the difference if these advances are not getting to our society? What is important to have this Q1, or to advance science for having more impacts on our people and our persons and society? I think it's important to change that way we have to measure this excellence, and we are taking small steps to go to there, but still here in Spain we are more focused in these big numbers. Even we have many changes during the last few years. If we want to apply for a position, we still have to prove that we have many papers published, many researchers projects. But what about this teamwork? Who is asking? Who is measuring how we teach our students to be a good researcher? I think it's more important than having a publication, how we impacting our young researchers. And sometimes, this is not measured in our CVs. So I think we need to rethink the model, but also we need to consider there is not an invisible thing that means the scientific system. The scientific system are the researchers, are the people we decide how to plan and how to redesign this evaluation. So I think we have to say more about how we change this. Yes.
Okay,
Can I?
of course.
So I want to continue where you say that the science is us. But until very recently, we were only prepared to do science. And we were not professionally prepared to deal with people. And that is the essential change that has to happen. We have to realize that it's not because you become a professor, you have a direct connection to above and you know everything. That's not true. You have to learn to be professional in how you manage a group, in how you supervise a PhD student, and all these things. And especially, you have to become professional in having difficult conversations. Because if you are not trained to have difficult conversations, you will avoid to have them because you feel ill at ease. If instead you are trained and you know, okay, I see this problem, I have to affront it, and this is how I have to do it, then you are much more ready to go and talk and start to affront the problem when you first see it. And then problems don't escalate.
Yep.
And that creates a much better atmosphere within an institution.
I would like to add something there. We have just finished a Horizon Europe project on inclusive gender equality in science and innovation. And one thing that comes up, and talking about excellence and what you were highlighting, is that a change, if we want to change the system, it needs to be done top down, but also bottom up. And the problem with bottom up change is that there are leaders and there are champions and there are people who are trying to change the system from the bottom up, but all their effort, because it requires a lot of effort, of time, it is completely unrecognized.
Yes.
It goes invisible. So that recognition it's important, because if we don't have that recognition, there is no change, because you cannot have just change from the top down. So, yes.
And now we're
Completely
talking
agree.
about top down and bottom up. I really wonder, when we try to to offer these courses, these mentorships, this change on leaderships, we call it in many different ways: transferable skills programs, sometimes even hiding that is related to gender, because that creates resistance. And we find that people on the top, sometimes they don't want to be trained, and they don't acknowledge this, what I believe is a burden for them, because as you mentioned, you can be a genius in physics, and you can be really good at your work, but you're not trained for being a group leader, no? How should we do this? How should we get this idea that this is going to be good for the community, but also good for the leader itself? Like, because it's really been hard for us, the ones that we are organizing courses, to get these people on board. What's your feeling about that? When you organize a course, you see these resistances. You have many experience. For example, Petra, as well you, Silvia or Sara. What do you feel about this? How can we attract, especially men, to these new forms of?
Well, I can tell you how we do it.
Of course.
We have the first courses which are mandatory. So you have to do training in academic teaching, because the generation is changing and the mentality is changing, and your traditional ways of teaching might not be adequate anymore. So we have to oblige you to learn how to talk to people who think and who reason differently from what you do. And then we have a mandatory course for supervising PhD students, where you learn about the process, you learn about feedback, you learn about the PhD in the environment, so cultural changes, neurodiversity, and so on. Because when I started to supervise PhD students, since I had no experience with somebody with autism, with symptoms in the autism spectrum, when I had my first autistic PhD students, I had no clue how I could help him. And then when I did the course, I learned how I can help the person, and everything was much, much easier for me. And when you learn that by professionalization, your life becomes easier, you also become more inclined to follow other courses which are not mandatory. So it's always by experience.
I also want to clap.
I totally agree. I mean, having these mandatory courses is essential, but also we need to measure and to promote and to consider that if you have this knowledge, these courses, these you have to also, if you are want to promote, you have to have these courses done. I mean, it's also required to
get a
measure
promotion.
this effort into your promotion, in your recognition, also economically. I mean, why not consider these requirements, or the way you prepare your research, considering and taking into account gender equality and the impact that your research is having on persons, to pay you more. I think it's also, I think we all are very preoccupied to have success in our financial ask for grants. So why don't we measure that? If you don't have this knowledge, these courses, you cannot apply for this kind of grants. What do you think about? I think it's a big change on the situation now, but I think we need to move forward to in this line.
Yes, well, there are tricks. I mean, in my university, we have mandatory courses, for instance, on gender and race bias and consent, bystander intervention, all these. But then we have, for researchers, for the research community, a number of courses that are for the researchers to take up. And we have looked at the statistics, and they are very bad. So only 20% of male taking these courses, and 80%
Of women.
of women. So that is a problem. And we have been trying, and actually on Wednesday we have a meeting there in TU Dublin to discuss this. Is the problem, how can we change the objectives of the course, even the language that we use? Because if we put gender in science, because I train in my university on gender, but not just gender, but more intersectionality in science. If you put that word, maybe many men that think that gender equality is an issue for women, so why should we take this course? So we are changing, like, inclusive science for impact and excellence, things like that, you know?
Yes.
And then they go to the course and they get that. So things like that, but one challenge, big challenge that we in our university, but I think it is more general, is that for these courses, the top management, they don't go.
They don't go.
The governing body in my university, they don't care. I've never seen them in any of these courses. And this is, I think, the million-dollar question. How do you get the top management to really participate? Because it is also about them, and they need to change their leadership. They, like, there are courses, for instance, in inclusive leadership, different ways of exercising leadership and academic leadership, and so that they can get involved and implicated. That is also their problem. That if you have a solution for this, I would be delighted
I
to
think that
hear.
we would all be delighted to just to keep it a little bit positive, because Petra was right. We should try to keep it positive. I want to tell you that Fisica right now is having a internal promotion process, and they're asking for these gender equality courses, just asking if you have taken some and which. And I'm getting so much people asking me to sign their certificates, people that I would never expected to give a damn about gender equality. So, as you mentioned, things are slowly changing. I don't believe that it is not mandatory, not really going to make a huge impact on the promotion process, but it's there.
Yes.
And it's the first time that we see that, in at least since I'm working here. So we're on that right track, but it's true that the challenge is to And maybe the keyword is mandatory. I will leave it there.
But
Then
sometimes putting the word mandatory, it could be a problem.
yes.
Even we have now, if you want to ask for grants in a European level, you have to have equality plans, for instance. So we all agree that it's very important and it's accepted. I mean, we assume that our institution needs to have equality plans, and now it's normal. We accept that. So if we move forward, at least measuring, considering at the same level of having maybe a Q1 than having a gender equality course, you measure both. So maybe if you want to have the higher level of the highest evaluation, you will be okay. If I only can get this higher evaluation by getting this kind of course, maybe all of us, including men, will be interested in having this knowledge. I think it's important not only the mandatory part, but the promotion, that is important to have that. So if you have made a course about including gender perspective in your research, you will get more points and you get more chances to have the project, or get more chances to your promotion, or get more a higher score in your I don't know, in the quinquenios. I mean, this docencia evaluation that all the professors have here in Spain. Maybe if we just take this kind of course, it's the only way to get the higher score. It's these small things that are going to push the system, all the persons to include this knowledge in their CVs.
But I also like to take your words, Petra, because I think it's really nice that what you have done in the Netherlands is to really make it feel like it would help them.
Exactly.
It will help them. It will.
And
It's not that it is mandatory. It's not that it is, which I think is important, but it's more the feeling that they realize that it's really good for, first of all, for themselves, and then for the community.
And in general, I mean, we are very well equipped to judge science.
Yeah.
We do that every day. But we are not very well equipped to judge how we interact. So, for example, we have a committee for the whole Faculty of Science and Engineering, for the whole Faculty of Medicine, for the promotions. So if one goes from assistant to associate to full professor. And the people who are on the committee are not only trained on bias, which is necessary, because it's not men against women, it is society against women. So everybody, if you don't believe that you are biased, take the test on the Harvard website about implicit bias, and you will be surprised by the result. I was very surprised by the result that I got, because I definitely thought I was not biased, and of course I was.
We are all biased.
So that's one thing. But the other thing is group dynamics. So when you take decisions, the group dynamics in the committee plays a very important role. And we are very ill aware of what we are actually doing. So we have introduced that when there is a new committee, there is a person specialized on that. She just listens in on our first interviews and the discussion afterwards, and then she puts up the mirror and she shows us what we have done. And that makes us learn very well how group processes are going. And when you realize how they are going, you can change them. And that is a very important aspect in the training of people who have to take these important decisions on the careers of people.
Okay,
So
Allow me to move a little bit forward because there are so many things that I want to ask you. I want to talk about the invisible burden on women now that we're talking about what can be done and how, because up until now, as it has been mentioned, gender equality seemed to be only a burden carried by women. And how do you think, like, have you experienced women having this burnout feeling? Because we have to be there in more panels, we have to be there since we're looking for this equality, no? Is it measured? Is it somehow acknowledged? So far, I don't know if you can say, like, since I'm a woman, I have to do this extra work, and this is somehow, what was your feeling about it, about this burning out, about this extra burden that we still carry, women
We ha-
in research?
We have decided it's really important to have gender balance panels, um, everything. I mean, we need women to participate at the same level as men, but in areas like physics or computer science, where women represent about 20% of the teams, it's quite difficult to maintain this balance on panels or events like today. And we do not recognize the extra effort that women need to do to grant this balance, this equality. And we need we cannot suppose that women need to do that because they are, like, I don't know, angels, that we are very, very good persons. No, we are normal persons. And we need recognition about this extra effort that we have to do every single day in our lives. So it's important to realize that this is not easy. This is an extra effort, and we need to recognize that in every single part of our research careers.
Maybe I totally agree, but women always want to please. And so they say yes far too often. And you have to remember that saying no saves time for other things you need to do that might be more important. So you have to say, you have to be strategic with what you do and what you don't do. It's not your responsibility that there are women on the panel. It's the one who composes the panel. So if you don't have time, you say no. Also, women have the tendency to think that they have to do everything alone. So what is important is that you also recruit help for everything you need to do. You have to do a new course, ask to people who have taught a similar course to give you their slides and their readers. Mm-hmm. There is no shame in that. And you save a lot of time. Think of ways of using the introduction chapter of your PhD student to write together a review paper, and you have one more publication, and you do less work for it. And like that, there is a whole list of things that you can do where you get results and you work less. And we have to teach women not to think always that they have the full responsibility, but to teach them that they can recruit help. And older people like to help younger people. So you should never forget that. It's a great satisfaction to see the people you have mentored succeed and have success. So the young people have to use that.
That's amazing. I think that we could make a decalogue of things that, yeah. Yeah, but it's also true that it's sometimes hard, no? To fight with the idea that you need to demonstrate something and to, I mean, for women in research, the imposter syndrome, and this burden that we're talking about. But I would really like to collect those ideas and say, just ask for help and don't be ashamed of it, and I mean, men do it all the time. No?
And
Like-
if you were hired for a position, the people are already convinced that you're good. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired you. So, what do you have to prove?
True. Sarah.
Yes, I completely agree. It is true that change has to come from us women, but
Yeah.
also it has to be structural. So,
Yeah.
both. We cannot just say, okay, it is just for women to which I completely agree, to delegate and to work in teams rather than this is as an individual burden that we have to carry. But also the change has to be structural and it has to be cultural, because if like in gender equality work, and I'm talking from that perspective in gender equality work, what needs to change is that gender equality is a problem for everybody.
Yes.
And once that kind of change of mind happens, it will be something that we will see many more men. And now there is also the move to inclusive equality, that it is not about gender, it is about age, it is about race, ethnicity, it's about abilities, it is about... so this is something that we are all, as a community, and we all have to work. And that hasn't happened yet. Yes, that
Yeah,
hasn't
I totally
happened.
agree,
agree.
because we are, women are suffering the consequences of this lack of gender equality. So we cannot be the only responsible or making it change and having a better system for us. I mean, we are not the only responsible of the solutions.
We are not
This
the
is-
only gender, and this is about gender.
No, this is a problem of both persons. I mean, I also think that this very competitive system is also burning men, not only women.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of us are responsible of changing things and having a more healthy environment for all of us to work and to develop our careers.
Yeah, can I add something there? And I think that one thing that needs to change, like we think about discrimination. So, for instance, in gender, it is about the gender that is discriminated, in race, the races that are discriminated. But if we conceptualize in terms of discrimination, only those who feel discriminated get engaged, because they are the ones. But if we also put it more, not just discrimination, but also privilege, that changes the conversation. And it is a way to get more involvement. And this, like this new word that I know is very complicated, and intersectionalities, it is very much, talking about power and privilege and discrimination, and these kind of relationships.
At the end, it's a matter of power.
Yes, for sure, yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm amazed. These ideas, I think that we will try to gather them later somehow, because this connects with the next questions, because it has come up many times in the sessions that we do, like, what can we do? And by we, I mean especially men. But what concrete measures can we do in our local environment to feel that we're changing something, that we're somehow flipping from discrimination to this privilege? What would you say to a person that wants to get involved in gender equality issues and that wants to do something? I know it's a bit tricky.
Okay, I want to put an example of what we made with the Science Awards from the Spanish Ministry. We realized that, as in general, I mean, Nobel Prizes, how many women have been awarded with a Nobel Prize? We don't get recognition, and
2%.
2%.
Yeah.
2%. I mean, it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And it was also the same with the Spanish Science Awards. So we decided to analyze why this was happening. Even we wanted to recognize woman talent. So first thing is we didn't receive nominations for women. I mean, universities don't present, don't nominate women. So we decided that if institutions wanted to propose a name, they need to propose at least two, one man and one woman, and then they can nominate more persons, but at least two, one of one man, one woman. And after that, with these little change,
Well, little. That's
we realized that we got a lot of nominees for women, but also institutions told us, oh, do you know that? We didn't know this woman was such talented. We discovered a lot of women making huge impact with their research. So at the end, we got for the first time we got more awards to women than during all the history of the awards. We made 50-50. And also with the young researchers, the proportion of women were 70%. And for a moment, I thought all the prizes of the awards were going to be for women, because you cannot imagine how talented the new generations are. These women that know they have to do such effort. It was amazing. It was amazing because I participated as a representative from the woman unit in every single panel, also to grant that no bias was present during the committee decisions. And yes, with this, it's not a very, I think it's a great step, but it's not very hard to make it. So you can make the difference with these
measures.
yes, with these little steps.
I want to generalize what you just said. You said the university did not know of the talent that they had in-house. And there you have to realize that when you are a minority, the system works according to the majority. And one of the problems is that men, I'm stereotyping, but it applies to many, they have the natural tendency. Women think, I'm doing a fantastic job, people will see that I'm doing a fantastic job. No, they don't, because they are busy. So, start to learn to do a little bit of that. Because if you want to be visible, you have to make people see you. So don't always blame only the ones above. Take action. That's
yes,
my,
that I have a colleague that and she published a paper on that, and it is about boasting.
Yeah.
You know, male boasting their scientific kind of achievements, and they are very good at doing that, and we are terrible. Usually, I don't want to stereotype, to stereotype this, but we feel like we have some about saying how good
and you
we
have
are.
to do it.
Yeah.
But then again, the burden is on us.
Yes.
Well,
Then again-
because the rules are the rules of the majority. Until we don't go above 25-30%, then things start to change. But until we are there, at the various levels. It's not our rule. And we have to adapt without changing. We have to adapt without changing ourselves. We have to be true to ourselves, but we have to adapt to the system. So if the system requires that I make publicity for myself, I have to make publicity for myself. I can't rely that other people just see it.
But I think that sometimes it's understood the other way around. If I'm not having publicity, it's maybe because I'm not good enough. But that thing is very important that you're saying, because the system is not ready to acknowledge it by itself. Maybe you should claim your spot.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another block. Because I'm scared on how fast this is passing. But I wanted to actually acknowledge, I already told you that we have 300 volunteers yearly. That means that we are trying to have new reference and to at least put the spotlight on women once a year, if not all through the year long. That's a challenge. But how effective do you think that, or do you think that it is still important that we have those references and that we, women, take the stage eventually to show the rest of the younger generations, especially girls, but also why not boys, knowing that there are women in science? How important do you think that these initiatives, such as the one we're doing today, or in general around the 11th of February, are? And this is something to thank all the volunteers because I'm understanding that you believe that it is still important.
Yes. I think it's the better way to show that this is also our place. I mean, for women. We need to we talk about that this morning. We need to show that you, as a woman, as a mediocre woman, can be also doing research. I mean, you don't have to be a superwoman. You don't have to be very, very extremely talented. You can just work here. And this is also a place for you. And as with these examples of women, obviously talented, but normal,
real,
medium woman, we need to show girls, but also boys, that this is also a place for women to work. I think is the better way. We can put the mirror in front of that girls and these boys and say you can become one of us, and also we need you.
I think what is also a point is that of course the system has to adapt to a family situation, so no teaching late in the afternoon if you have small children, or career breaks taken out of your CV when you are evaluated, and all these things are necessary. But on the other side, you also have to realize that we are still living in a society where for a woman to be professionally active and to have a family is difficult.
yes.
And it is not only in science, it's in
course.
any profession. I mean, if you are a lawyer, you have the same problem. So we need to realize that as a society, we should consider that if we miss half of the talent in our society, we are poorer, and we can't afford that. So we have to adapt to be more inclusive. And then there are many studies which show that companies which have a more inclusive staff, which have handicapped people, people from different races, people from different genders, and so on and so forth, they are more successful, and the people identify more with the company. So there are tons of studies which show that. So if this applies to private enterprise, why shouldn't it apply to our system of research institutes and universities? It's obvious that it will be the same.
Yeah, but things are changing. I'm very, I don't want to be over optimistic, but I think that there have been a lot of improvements, and well, we can see it also, like if we see the chief figures of the European Commission, that there are all these that there has been progress, not of course not the progress that should have done, but in a way having more diversity not in science. We can see the changes, like maybe like 10, 20 years ago, people could have, like meetings at times that, like at 7 in the evening, or I'm talking not from a Spanish perspective, but the UK perspective. Nowadays, if you have a meeting that goes beyond 4:30, or school runs, because also or very early in the morning, it is not acceptable, and it is not accepted. Not only acceptable, but accepted. And I think that is because also there is more diversity, and people are not ready to put up with, and it's a change of mind, yes. So if we think where we were 20 years ago,
Oh, it has changed.
and
Yeah.
where we are now, yes.
But the thing is, it's not only important because social justice. I mean, it's true. Women have the right to be there, but I think it's also important to point out that it is very, very important, because having women in technology, in science, we have a better science and a better technology, because having all these diverse point of views makes a better science system. And also, if we there are several studies that proves that also has an impact, an economical impact. I mean, if we get more women to science and technology, we get better economical results for companies and for everything. So it's also important in that way, not only talking about our rights, but the impact, it's huge.
Yes, that is, sorry. There have been some measurements about that, and I don't know how reliable they are, but they are taking indicators of excellence and indicators of gender equality, and actually there is a correlation.
Yes.
In this, something that it needs to be explored much more. But also, one thing that you have is also role models are absolutely necessary. Role models, we think of women as role models of younger women and girls, but also for men.
Yes.
So yes, absolutely. It is all very.
Are we
I
somehow...
just want to quantify what you just said, the economic necessity. I don't know how many people here in the room are aware that the European Physical Society does regularly studies of the impact of physics on the European economies. And physics-based industries are responsible for 44% of our exports as EU. So, and it has doubled in the last 5 years. So it's really something that we need the people. And if we need the people, we have to attract them, and we have to keep them in order to guarantee our economic well-being. So this is not only a discussion about feeling well in the place where you work, it is also about educating people to keep our economy going.
That's amazing, but I promised myself that I wouldn't say too many data, but this is, I think it's important. Here in Spain, and specifically, for example, in the Faculty of Informatics, we are facing the fact that women are not engaged, but the careers that are supposed to be the future more strong and more appealing works. I'm talking about IA, I'm talking about big data and so on. For example, in the Faculty of Informatics here, it was just 15% woman. That's to begin with the career. Imagine, then you get the pipeline. So if we are shaping the future in technology, we are risking already the amount of women that would be dealing with those subjects in the future and taking decisions with the future. And this is scary. So I just wanted to point it out because we tend to think that time will solve everything,
Yes.
and we're facing a critical time regarding especially your expertise area, which are technologies.
We have in all these STEAM areas, but also outside the STEAM, we have increased the amount of women during the last decades, but very, very slowly. For instance, in informatics, in computer science, in the 80s, there were about 30% of women, but then it was slowed down, yes. And from the year 2015, 16, we have very slightly increasing the numbers. The lower value in computer science was 12% of women. Now we are around 70%. It's, but the thing is, we change the slope. We change the situation, but there is still a lot to change, a lot to do. Yeah, but for instance, instead of if we don't take a look on computer science, but to artificial intelligence, in artificial intelligence we have 30% of women.
Okay.
So in the general numbers in Spain, so it's not so bad in comparison compared to computer science. Sometimes putting the word engineering in the degree, in the name of the degree, it makes the difference, because when computer science studies get this engineering word in Spain, we lost 10% of women just with that change of the name. So it is very, very important, this marketing we have, because we need to tell women that this is not so difficult, this is not so because we know women are more interested in the studies that consider cares. That's the reason we have a lot of women in medical studies or teaching studies. So we need to show that this is in these areas, in these studies, we have an impact on society, on people, because women are more interested in that. I would like to say, no, you need to change your mind. You need to not be so preoccupied about cares. But the thing is, they have been raised with this interest on cares, and we need to realize about that. So we need to tell them that we can also take care of our society from this kind of studies if we want to change the figures.
And I believe that someday we will have to acknowledge the idea of doing it the other way around. I mean, telling men that they are able to,
of course,
to
yes,
take
yes,
care
totally.
and to no, and it's not.
Yes, they are also responsible or
Yeah, but
making
that they
these
can feel
cares.
happy about doing careers that are not technically so challenging, but that they are more devoted to caring of the people. That's something. And I don't want to finish without talking of, we're missing two blocks here. One is workplace harassment, and here we were discussing it before, so just to let you know, the idea that we have come up with is that maybe gender-based harassment, sexual-based harassment is more or less clear, and there are protocols specific for that. But we wanted to talk about the gray areas, the areas that probably are more often seen, not just in academia, but in society, where you don't recognize yourself as victim of a harassment, gender harassment, crime, whatever, but you still feel that there is something coming from this power that we were talking. So how do you think that these cases, these gray cases, can be treated from the institution, for example, like at the local level or at Fisica level, because we believe that these are the key problems, no? Instead of having a victim and a perpetrator, a criminal, what do we do when we have this system that is so hierarchical, so vertical, and these gray cases that we don't really know where to fit and we don't really know how to act on them? What do you think about these scenarios?
I think that training is absolutely necessary. A lot of training in the institutions. The thing is that, and also to change, at least in Ireland, we are taking this more intersectionally, because we are going to this, towards this idea of thinking about harassment and sexual violence more, not only gender, but gender and LGBTQ plus community, disability, race and ethnicity. That there are a lot of groups that are very vulnerable to violence. The thing is that and I don't think it in Spain or in Holland will be the same, but in my experience, training in sexual violence and harassment, these are the trainings where I have spotted more resistances.
Yes.
A lot of resistances. And resistances from men. Who are
Really?
yes. And they can be fierce, and it can be very delicate, very difficult for the trainer to kind of break, because that's another question. How do you break resistances in training and in situations like that? So it requires training because people are not aware, as you said, sometimes that this is a case of clear of gender-based violence, because violence, that concept is very wide, and sometimes it is kind of reduced to sexual violence when it is not. So the training is very, very important to raise awareness and what to do, and also what to do, like training in consent, and what to do in case when you witness a case that is bystander intervention, but also in that training to break those resistances. Because they can completely represent an obstacle to the whole objective of the training. I don't know if you have experienced also resistances in these areas. Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you break those resistances?
I think it's important to change the point. I think we don't need to focus on pursuing perpetrators. We need to protect victims. And in order to do that, we need to have this training for everything, for everyone in the academia, in our institutions. But considering this kind of power relation you said before, I mean, I think most times this starting point is not the sexual harassment situation. It's the final. So we need to prevent these starting gray areas and teach people how to behave, but not focusing on punishment. It's like you Petra told before also. It's like a way to behave with your colleagues. I think it's how can you be a better team? How can you work easily and more efficiently? I think the way is that it's not focusing on sexual harassment, maybe in how to behave properly in your institution and in your research group. I think this could be helpful.
I'm convinced that the bystander training that you mentioned is really, really important. So what you learn is how, when you see something that is not right, and that can be a joke which is not funny, to somebody approaching somebody else in a way that is perceived as not nice for the person who is being approached. How can you intervene when you see something like that without, in a safe way for yourself? And that is a very essential training, and the European Physical Society is going to organize a Train the Trainers workshop later this year, where we invite all the member societies to send somebody who learns how to train others. And it should be really common. It should be in every institution. We have it for every new PhD student. We organize these events where they are trained in bystander training, every new staff member, and so on, so that people know how to react. And when you have people who know how to react, already the situation becomes better, because you don't let a situation escalate. And the second training is what I mentioned in the beginning, to teach the leaders how to have conversations when they hear about a problem. Because, very frankly, I had in my group the situation that a postdoc was stalking a PhD student, and if I had done the conversation as I would normally do, just out of my instinct, how you approach that, I would have done everything wrong. Luckily, I got advice, and I was trained how to have that conversation, and it is completely different from what my intuition would have told me to do. So we need this kind of training. We need this kind of training for every person in a management position, with a training actor to practice and so on. And so once you have done that, you're not afraid when you see a problem to intervene and to do something. And you can avoid that situations escalate and become bad. Because problems don't go away.
No, they don't.
So
And I
They
believe,
get worse if you don't.
Yes, if you don't act, it gets
If
worse.
you don't act, yeah.
yeah, I believe we have a lot of learning to do in these gray areas, but we're trying at least. And before, it wasn't even an issue, no, to talk about this conflict. So right now it's 12:15. So
we go to the questions.
yeah, we can go straight to the questions, or we can take 10 minutes. How do you feel about it?
We can go to
We can go to the questions. Okay, so everybody is okay. So we have both ways to participate, as mentioned before. You can do it anonymously. Hopefully you've been doing it through the session. Yes. So now let me introduce you again, our amazing team, Isabel, Pascual, Benjamin Tirado, and Pascal Isagapitos. They've been collecting your reactions, your questions, and we will go straight to that.
We've had like almost like 15 questions, so we are sure, no, we are not really sure if we can like answer all of them. So first, we feel sorry if we cannot cover all of them, but so first we wanna show like the word cloud, because we wanna share like the main things that have been like repeated on the thoughts of the people. So I think that the main things that we can like wrap up is like how to like progress in your career, the systematics that we face, how to improve our presence, different stages, and also salary. I think it's an important thing to cover too. Also responsibilities, economic. So that's like if you are okay with that, we can have like this here, so we can like embrace the feelings that we're having, and we can start with the questions. There are a lot of them, mostly have been anonymous, so that's also something to take into account, that we feel like, and it's like safe space. So some of them are related, like how to, or this feeling that we always have, that we have to choose between our career and our personal life. So if we are like skipping things or letting things out, and this is also related to another question, which is like, is the situation in science different from what we can find in other activities, or just a reflection of what happens in general society?
Shall I start? Of course. In general, maybe because I'm old, but I think the problem is not posed in the right fashion. It's not your private life and your work which are in contradiction. What you have to be sure is that every week is a week out of which you get energy, where you have positive things. And whether these positive things come from your work or come from your private life is, for me, less important. The important thing is that overall, you have to get energy. And because shit happens, that means that there will be times where you need to rely on your friends and the family to get the energy, because it does not come from the work. Your proposal has been not granted, or you have nasty referees, or things like that. These things happen, which means that you have also to organize your life, that you have enough time to cultivate your family and your friends, because you need both. But that does not mean that your pen has to drop at 5 o'clock, in my point of view. Yeah? It just means that you have to have your priorities right, and you have to defend your priorities.
I
But-
would say, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, please.
I would say there is a particular problem in the academic world, okay? A big problem. You would have heard this, publish or perish, this kind of. And not only that, but I have been done a study in Bosnia and Herzegovina on women academics, but in other countries in Europe, you know, it's all the same. It is a pattern that repeats again and again, and it is. And they always tell the story of evenings, all holidays, weekends, late nights, of work, and it is the expectations that are placed upon, and not only women, it's also it's women and men, and it is general expectations. The thing is that because the caring roles, you know, the gender division of care is still something to be solved in society. For women academics is much harder, because it is them who have the burden, or they feel the commitment to, you know, not only for care of children, elderly parents, but also housework and cooking, and all this is still, you know, like you see the statistics, and still being carried out nowadays more by women. So if you add all these expectations of publishing, of blah, 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 it becomes very unhealthy life. You know, for women academics, very unhealthy. And then there is the issue of mental health, burnouts, you know. Mm-hmm.
I think this situation is not particularly for science. It's common with in workplaces that are very hierarchical, like science, and with relationships established on power. This is a problem because the one who gets the power has some more opportunities to decide what is going to be measured. So if women don't have the power, we cannot make the rules, we cannot make important that having this work-life balance need to be included in our workplace. So if we don't have the opportunity to change that, I don't think we can decide to have this opportunity to say no, to prioritize. We don't have this chance. We have a system that don't let us to have these choices. We don't have choices.
Try.
But I don't think this is I think this is not our responsibility. I would like to have this opportunity. I would like to practice to say no to some things. But I think also we need to change the system. We change that the responsibility is not on us to say no, but the system to not ask us to make this extra effort to balance, because if the less power you have, the less opportunity to say no. You are forced to do that if you want to be promoted. You cannot say, okay, that's for me. No. You cannot say I'm done,
Yeah, it's a
because you are not
structural
going to
problem.
be
It's a
promoted.
structural problem.
No,
So-
but if you have a mentor that explains to you, because you lack sometimes the experience to say whether you can say no to something or you have to say yes to avoid the negative consequences. But if you find other people around you, and that can be peer mentoring and that can be mentoring by more experienced people, you get other opinions on the topic, and it becomes easier to decide where to say no and where to say yes. So and you have to say no,
I know.
otherwise you get drowned.
Yes.
But depending on
I know,
in which scale
but
of power
you-
you are,
Yeah.
saying no means something completely different.
Okay, if
And
I can
course.
intervene, I think that is real. It's like very well connected to the next block of questions that we have, which are related to metrics, as we have already discussed. So it's like some of the questions want to target like it's enough to have just like a gender equality plan in terms of, okay, we have this, but it's already implemented, how to make these courses or events relevant for the people, not only taking them as mandatory or not, if they can be taken into account in the CVs. Also, some persons want to go further and oblige men to go for a 6-month parental leave, so they also have holes in their CVs. So also people want to discuss about excellence. What does excellence mean? Is it mandatory to be excellent or just a normal, regular worker? So yeah, if you want
I
to
want to say
comment.
something about gender equality plans. Our planes de igualdad de género. It's not enough to have a gender equality plan. Well, or it depends. There are great gender equality plans, but there are terrible gender equality plans too, and I have seen them, and it is the way what we understand by gender equality plan. I have seen in some universities gender equality plans that have been written just by one person. That's not a way to do a gender equality plan. And because it becomes a tick box, okay,
Yes.
we need to have a gender equality plan, otherwise we cannot participate in Horizon Europe funding, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's have, oh yeah, we have the gender equality plan. that ticks on all, the different priority areas. Gender equality plans that work really are plans, and I don't know, in different universities are done different ways, but it has to be a participative process. And the more participative, the better. The community needs to get involved. And these are plans that need to be developed by teams in different, but teams that they are composed of different, professional staff, what we call, I don't know in Spain exactly what is the word, that it's not academic staff, but technical and professional staff, academics, students, PhD students, the whole community get involved in this, and then it can work because it is something that is consensuated. But no, a gender equality plan is not enough. If, because I have seen a lot that they are just a protocol to pass and to, yes.
This is required, but not sufficient. But
Yeah,
for me, the important part of gender equality plans is not having a lot of measures. It's measuring. I mean, you need to measure what is. It's like having the initial photography of the situation, and then after a year.
You need to monitor.
Yes, you need to monitor and to look for the difference. It's more important to change things. Maybe three simple measures are better than a plan full of impossible of ideas to acquire. So I think it's really, really important to monitor and to have this improvement, these little steps to improve the situation. So if you have a gender equality plan that it's very general, that it's not particular for your institution, it has no sense. And also you need the institution understand this plan. The people on high top mandatory positions understand that something needs to change, and these are opportunities to improve your institution.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I think that with this we can just address like the last block of questions that involve these things that we are also discussing that make the system more human itself. Just not only to help women to progress, but also improve the quality of life of all of the people involved in the system, regardless of their gender, race, or whatever. And if we need to go deeper to change things that need to be changed further from this point.
Well, I would like to go back to a question that was asked before. What can I do as a person to improve the situation from tomorrow? There are very simple things that you can do. So if you are in a more experienced position where you are asked to suggest people for conferences, or just the next time you are asked to suggest people, suggest only women or only people from diversity. It will be more work, okay, because there are less, so you have to search harder to find the real good ones. And then from there on, suggest 50% every time you are asked. So 100% first time, and then at least 50% in the future. Decide one younger staff member and be a guardian angel. What is a guardian angel? A guardian angel is somebody who makes calls to colleagues and says, we have this fantastic person, why don't you invite him for a seminar, or why don't you invite her for a colloquium, or things like that, to help their visibility. you can nominate people for prizes. You would be surprised. I'm on very many committees where we have to give prizes. There are very few people who are proposed for prizes, where you could have many more. And then again, on these committees, there are people who have to suggest people for talks at conferences. And we are all busy, so if you get all the information already there in the nomination of the person who did not win the prize, you can use that and you work less the next time. So even if you don't win the prize, there is something which is coming up for you anyway. For the young people, promote your success. Do any competition you can do. So right now there is the 3-minute thesis competition, there is FameLab, there is many young investigator awards at conferences. The first prize is always the most difficult to get. So go for the easy ones first and then continue from there. Also prepare the information. Nobody can come to you and say, I want to nominate you for a prize. That's not allowed. So you have to have your personal website with all the information that I need if I want to nominate you. Or so have on your website something what I'm particularly proud of, which are the things you would be like to be invited for conferences or you would like to be nominated for prize. Make it easy for people to promote you. And then things will happen.
Hopefully. How are we doing with, because we never touched the mental health block by itself. Do we have questions on that?
Well, not really. I mean, there are like questions regarding like work-life balance and so on, but I think that most of the questions are related to the things that we've been covering during the session.
Okay. Does anybody want to speak aloud? Because we offer this anonymous thing, but maybe somebody wants to introduce themselves to Petra, Silvia, and Sarah.
So,
hi, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Regarding the first point that you touched, which is the change of the way we evaluate excellence, what is one action that if you could do it tomorrow, you will do to bring that closer?
I could say what we introduced in the Netherlands and where everybody was extremely skeptical, but which is working now, that when you apply for a grant, you're not anymore allowed to put your classical CV, but you have to make a narrative CV, where you tell a story of what you did to impact science and to impact society. And
we did the same in
and
Ireland,
it really
and in
helps.
the UK has been done the same. So it is in evaluations of excellence to include societal impact
Yes.
of your work.
So this is from the National Science Agencies.
Yes.
Thank you.
And everybody protests because they say, yes, but if I don't have the publications, and how do I evaluate? Well, just look what they write.
Yeah.
Here in Spain, we have changed a bit. I mean, if you want to get your evaluation to be a full professor, you have to introduce a more. It's not a matter of weight of the amount of papers you have. You have to prepare a discourse of what you have achieved. But I'm afraid that for women, that we are not very good at promoting us, at showing how good we are. I'm not sure this is going to be good for us. I'm not sure if this different way we have to explain our achievements can go against that again. So maybe I know that many companies in Spain have worked with this way to have this problems with hiring people, because when you have a CV from not only in academia, but when you have a CV from a man and a woman, we don't sell us in the same way. So they are starting to use artificial intelligence to have more general, without this I'm very good, that you men used to use to promote them. And maybe one thing very useful could be this use of effective artificial intelligence to just balance the merits included in our CVs, just for not considering these flowers that adorn some of the CVs and not others, because this way to sell us, I'm afraid, can make us again lose opportunities. So maybe we can use also these technical advances.
I have a crazy idea, but it's always funny for me that when you apply for a position, they always ask people who have been on top of you, how did you perform? It would be nice to have it the other way around. Like if you're on top already and you want to go higher, to ask people from below.
That's
was it
actually one
working?
question.
Yes.
How was it working with you? And have it into account, no? Like how were you behaving as a boss? Even from a subjective point of view, but it could be quantified, it could be like
Yes.
like something else to take into account, no? How are you as a partner, as a colleague? I don't know if there's someone working in.
There is a problem there because we have students' evaluations of lecturers, and there is some evidence of bias when
Yes.
students are evaluating their lecturers, and sometimes big biases.
And they are big biases.
Gender, like you have a lecturer whose native language is not the language of, there are biases
yes.
there, different skin colors, different. So we have to be careful with that as well.
Okay.
Okay, because
see,
as
it was
Petra
crazy.
says, we are all biased.
Yes.
We are all biased, yeah. But again,
Even students. But it's a good idea, yes.
I don't know how, but just to
Yeah.
measure the group feeling. Again, we started from there, no? Like how do we put in numbers? We love numbers. We love quantifying things. How could we make it measurable, the well-being of a group and the team work? Well,
Okay. Good morning. I'm from the computer science faculty, and since we have talked about this, I would like to bring it here. I know the nice work that Silvia does on making STEM careers appealing to girls. But we have been working on that for a lot of years, trying to say girls that computer science is a nice path and that they can do very well there. But we didn't get any nice results. In fact, you talked about AI has a lower number of women. It happened here for the first years, I think, but now we are more or less in the same level. 17, we don't get to 20% of girls. And I don't know if all the work we are trying to do is getting anywhere. And once I heard, it's true that it's only once that I heard that, but I heard it and it was really shocking for me, from girls saying, just leave us alone. We know what we want to study. Don't tell us what we have to do. And what do you do with that?
We get this message sometimes because when we try to promote STEM studies especially among girls, we heard a lot of times that don't tell us what to do, don't tell us what to study. But the thing is, there are still stereotypes, messages that people receive about what to study, what kind of things are for girls and what kind of things are for boys. So if we didn't have all these ideas about different things for you if you are a boy or if you are a girl, we will have the same number of female and male students in every single career and studies. I mean, if we have a very low rate of women studying computer science, and we have a very high amount of women studying a medical career, is because we have these stereotypes, these ideas, and these external factors that are not related to what we want. We want what we want because we live in a society that tell us what to want. So it's not what I want, it's more that what I would like to do if I would not have these external messages. So the thing is not telling the girls what to study. It's telling them that you can study whatever you want. And there is no reason you cannot get a career on computer science, on physics. It happens, that will happen to you also. It's not gonna be easy, but we are here to help you. I think it's more that message that we have to tell them that
Maybe I also want to encourage you to be a little bit patient, because when I was the president of the Dutch Physics Olympiads for 10 years, and I made it my goal to increase the number of female participants. And at the end of my term, we had 38%, and we have had 38% ever since who participate. So it was a lot of work, but it paid out. And then I was very frustrated because the number of girls who were choosing to study physics did not increase for quite some time. And all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 years later, then we reached that goal. All of a sudden it started to increase, and now we have 30% in physics, which is really good for the Netherlands. Before we started with 12, 15%. So when you do these actions to showcase what you can do with your profession and how you can be successful in it, sometimes the success is not immediate, but it comes with time. So continue.
Yes, there is a problem also. The disciplines, they have somehow gender markers, and we need to break those gender markers. And we have problems in STEM with, like inequalities, gender inequalities, but we also have gender inequalities in the arts and humanities. So that is something, and in other professions such as nursing. So those, and I think that your question is a very good question, and I agree, of course, that the issue is that people, people pick the studies that they are most interested, that they enjoy most, and that they are good at, and but we need to there is this association, and for instance, I had a lot of pressure myself, you know, and I'm in the social sciences area to study STEM. But because it was more like a science of strength, and it was associated, it had this marker, these disciplines. And then the others, you know, if I went to arts, humanities, social sciences, it was, oh yeah, like it's easy. It
You
is
took
like
the
for
easy
women.
choice,
And those ideas, they really, in order for people to make informed choices about their, all that work needs to be done first, of breaking those markers associated to different disciplines. Mhm.
Yes.
But it's a good question that you had, yeah.
I want to summarize my question. Hi, I'm Sofia. I'm a psychologist and I'm also a trainer. I've been working in the Basque community here. So I have two questions. Well, maybe they are connected. So, because as regards your previous question, I think that we cannot impose, no, that's a bad stereotype. You should use this one. This is a better, because it's still a stereotype, right? Like, girls should do this, or you should study this, or you should study that. So on the one hand, I think it's various dimensions that we have to work so that the society changes, values change, the culture also is more inclusive, gives freedom in the end for that young person to choose whatever they want. It's not about the bottom line is that you're free. Exactly, and you're not conditioned to choose something or the other one, right? That you know all the options and you're free to choose on one side. And on the other side, I wanted to ask you, because I think that the mental health issue is a symptom of a system that is in a big crisis. And I think it's the values of the system are in crisis. What are the fundamental values that we want to promote in science? This is on the one hand, and because otherwise people individually are suffering of the cracks of the systems. So the people who crack in the end and the bottom, like the most, let's say, vulnerable people from the system. And so we see those are the first to express this in also mental health problems and situations that they have to cope with, but it's not their individual only responsibility. It's part of a bigger system, right? So the question, sorry that I took all this, what question is, where's the place to, you said, Petra, it takes time, but where's the place to discuss this on the one hand, to implement faster changes? Because if we realize globally, when we are realizing this is a problem, we have taken all these actions, it has been a long time to implement and that's it. But if we see what's coming, like the extreme right and this ideology is already, you know, telling us that when we wake up, you know, they will already be eliminating all these kind of initiatives and policies. Okay, so where's the place, how to implement changes that are effective so that we don't have the feeling that we are already running late on this?
I can reply if you want.
Yes,
I think there is a lot of scientific documentation that the change to the right comes a lot with the isolation of the people. So when you abolish bars in the little villages, or when people spend excessive time watching their and they don't interact person to person. then you see a very clear correlation with the move to extreme ideas, which unfortunately in this period are more on the right. And it is the same for our science community, that getting together, sitting there, having a coffee and talking, seems that you are losing time. And you are not losing time. We need a lot more social occasions where we interact and where we just talk to people. And that we have to promote. And when you are a group leader, you have to promote that your PhD students don't talk to each other by WhatsApp, but that they go to the room of the colleague they have to talk to, and they talk in person. Because the more we promote personal exchange about science and about society, the better things become. And you can't solve these things by WhatsApp. So you really have to talk to one another.
I think in any case, I think that is a very real threat. The rise of the right, it is a very real and clear threat where equality, diversity and inclusion agendas are being dismantled. These agendas, they need funding, where funding is being pulled out. And this is something that we are really need to face, and it is something like new. Only now we are starting talking about the radical right and what is doing and what is the impact in the whole, equality, equality politics and equality work. There are a lot of conversations about how we can mobilize forces and also build alliances, of different parts of, and alliances not only in relation to gender, but in relation to other minorities to get to join forces. But on this aspect, I must confess I'm not very optimistic at the moment. I'm sorry, I'm rather pessimistic. But that doesn't mean that it is to give up.
We are not going to give up.
We are not going to give up, but it's quite scary. It's quite scary.
If I may.
Sorry, you ask about where is the place to solve those things? Everywhere.
Every day.
Every single day, everywhere, with a coffee with your colleagues, and also we're making policies everywhere. We need to talk about that, not just in days like today, but every single day in every single level. And also, I think the solution will come from not from an individual point of view, and instead we need to think more in the collective. I think we need to focus on teams or working all together. And I think this is the most important part we need to change in science and in our science system, because it's too much focus on individual advances, and we need to focus on these collective advances and working together. I think this is one of the most important things we need to change.
I'm happy that we're talking about this, because I think that I'm talking in the name of all emakumeak zientzia and the collective that we created when saying that for us the most important thing we have achieved is actually feeling like a collective and not having to raise your single voice every time you want something to be said or every time you want some right to be achieved, but you do it in a team and you do it collectively and you know each other. And by knowing each other, it's funny that you mentioned the coffee, because every year we have some time just for the fun of it, to be with each other, to talk, to drink, we even put music, and we do it in a really partyful way, because we believe in those spaces to be fundamental to keep trying, at least. And then again, when you do it like that, you realize that you arrive to places where you thought that you would never be, like, for example, with Emakunde, or with some decision-making bodies that were not open as individuals, that are open as a collective, and as a, and I think that that is a very important thing that we have achieved. Numbers are not always helping, because we always look at numbers trying to say, okay, we reach it, but something has changed, at least to the people that belong to this Emakumeak Zientzian, we see that it has changed, and is of course open to anybody that wants to or to help, or to cry, or to laugh, or whatever. So I think that this is, if there are no more questions, of course, Lisa, of course.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Emakumeak Zientzian, because I think the fact that there are so many men here is in part because of this Emakumeak Zientzian, because it is 10 years that you are speaking about this in the campus, on campus, on the Basque Country, and I think that has an impact on having everybody in their minds that women are, well, not that we don't have the equal rights or equal opportunities, equal, well, everything. Huh? So first of all, thanks for that. And then I wanted to suggest something about the question of the teacher in computer science, because maybe it's not enough to go to women and try to convince them that they have to study sciences or these kind of careers that are male-dominated, but maybe we can do also the opposite. Maybe we can try to bring men to medicine or these kind of careers that are mostly or mostly female-oriented, or I don't know how to say that. I mean, where most of the people are women, because when in a profession most of the people are women, this profession is also underestimated by the society. So it is also good to have men, and that can help to remove men from computer science and these kind of things, and you know, to get more equality in numbers. And
Completely agree. So I think, look.
Maria Sierra from the Basque Institute for Women, a quality body for the regional government. I just wanted to say that we as a quality body, we have, you know, Sara has said before, I would say it in Spanish, Petra, I hope that Sara could translate that for you. The quality plans are for the drawer, para el cajón, para sostener las mesas. There is a useful tool. I spoke about that to Idoia too many times, but there is something that I'm missing here. This because we are talking about the scientific community, but I mean the scientific community need the quality bodies too, and they need the policy makers. And I'm a policy maker, so that's my what I need to do. And in our case, there is no communication. I mean, in our case here in the Basque Country, we have the communication. We have our own science, technology, and innovation group, and we are talking about that because I have my colleagues from technology at the back, and we are trying to gather all those point of views. But I mean, how we can, the policy makers, include your perspective, because I think that we have to bring, you know, bridges and try to talk the same language, the first thing, because the quality bodies, we were so focused on bringing women to your sector. And it's something that I realized that we were doing wrong. So that was in 2023 when I met Idoia and the other colleagues from the Emakumeak Zientzian, and we were like, I was so sure that I was doing the right thing, bringing women to scientific world. And they were telling me, for what? So that is a strong question, but I think that we need to put on the table too, and also what policymakers can do. I mean, what we can do to help to that.
You can do I mean, the example nowadays, not years ago, but nowadays, Ireland is being put as a kind of pioneer in certain, in advancing inclusive gender equality in higher education and science. And we are asked many times, what is the secret? And it is a communication, a very good communication between the policymakers at the level of the higher education authority at the level, and sometimes it doesn't work, and it needs to work, at the national policymaker making level, and then at the local institutional level of higher education, research institution, and it is, we work with this concept of the ecosystem, the science and innovation ecosystem, and the ecosystem is not just academic institutions. The ecosystem is very big, and in a way, for it to work, that ecosystem and the different elements of the ecosystem need to talk to each other, and in a fluid way. So it's great if you here in the Basque Country, you say that you have a very good communication, at policymaker, but I know it doesn't happen in many other and in many other places, and that can be a big obstacle. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add from the part that we talk about bring women or bring girls to science, to technology. I think it's quite the opposite. I think we need to bring science to women, to bring technology to women. I think if we change the point, it would be better.
Yes, sure. Yeah,
Good.
For sure.
So I just wanted to thank you all again for coming and for sharing those amazing ideas. I would really love to summarize this when we digest it and come up with some maybe resources for the community and so on. And really it was a pleasure talking to you, especially listening to you all. And I hope that it was a pleasure also for the ones in the audience. And thanks again to everybody that made this possible technically and from the administration point of view also, because bringing you all the way from Netherlands, sometimes we don't say that enough, but there's also a bunch of work being done then in the bureaucracy. And thanks to everybody, really. It has been our pleasure, and we would love to have you here tomorrow. Why not? We could keep talking, because Petra Rudolph will be so nice to give her talk on women in, how is it called again?
It's called Women in Science, a Historic Perspective, and I will tell about women scientists from the Middle Ages to the start of the 20th century.
That will be amazing.
Just give you a few examples.
Yeah, 9:30 in the morning again, and thank you all for coming and joining us, really.
Thanks to you.
Thanks.